Welcome to Bad at Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. We'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals, and then we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll form a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and perhaps of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so, perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Erubia. Erubia is a critically endangered flowering shrub, native to the U.S. island territory of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean Sea. Its scientific name is Solanum ensifolium, and it was first described in 1852. Erubia is a perennial suffrutescent herb. Perennial, persisting over multiple years and reproduction cycles, and suffrutescent herb is a plant with a woody base, but with herbaceous, non-woody, soft upper stems. Erubia presents as a shrub, or sometimes as a small tree, occasionally even reaching heights of 18 feet. The woody bark is reddish-brown, the herbaceous stems are green, and both are covered in trichomes. These are small, whitish hairs. Its leaves are lanceolate, with a narrow oval shape that tapers to a point at each end, roughly 7 inches long and 2 inches wide, with an entire margin, meaning it has smooth edges. Some Erubia develop prickles on their leaves. These are roughly half-inch spikes that grow from the leaf's midrib, that is the center vein in the middle of the leaf. The trichomes and the prickles are defensive adaptations. The small hairs discourage feeding by smaller animals like insects, and the prickles deter larger grazers like rodents. Their flowers are shaped like a 5-pointed star, with 5 long, skinny white petals that bend backward toward the stem and away from the reproductive organs at the center of the flower. The flowers are hermaphroditic, meaning each flower contains both male reproductive organs, stamen, anthers, and female reproductive organs, pistil, style, ovaries. The male pollen-holding anthers are yellow, about a 1/4 inch long, and fused into a cone-like tube shape, with the female style inside at the center, just long enough to poke out the top. The inside of this tube is also filled with trichomes, more tangled, protective hairs. This somewhat unusual flower form is related to its pollination. Erubia is buzz-pollinated. So in like 90% of all flowers, the anthers release pollen easily. A light touch, the brush of a leg or a feather. But roughly 10% of all flowers, like our Erubia and more common species like tomato and blueberry, have poricidal anthers. So pollen is held tightly within that tube-like structure, and they have only small pores or a slit at the very top. And so to release the pollen, a pollinator must physically shake the anther at a specific high frequency. So bees hold the flower with their mandibles and legs, and then rapidly contract their flight muscles, but without flapping their wings. So this generates vibrations that travel through the bee's body into the flower, causing the anther to resonate, shaking pollen out of the pores in a small cloud, coating the bee's fuzzy body. Then, as the bee moves to other flowers, it transfers this pollen. That is buzz pollination. Erubia is self-incompatible. This means that an individual plant cannot fertilize itself. It needs pollen from a genetically distinct individual to produce viable seeds. And once pollinated, the Erubia develops a round, shiny black berry, about a 1/4 of an inch in diameter, holding 10 to 20 small, pale yellow seeds, which are likely dispersed by birds. In the dream, a speck of pollen is a possible future, is optimistic, is a gesture of hopefulness. Spines and tangles, I protect this treasured promise. And yet, though perhaps begrudgingly, if you hold me and sing into my depths, I will release it, a cloud of sweet, bright aspirations entrusted to your skybound journey. Fly well, small friend. There is more riding on you than you will ever know. In the dream. Erubia is native to the U.S. island territory of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean Sea, in the southeast of the island at the very top of the municipality of Salinas, near the mountain peaks of Las Piedras del Collado in the Sierra de Calle mountain range. The remaining population is found only in an area of less than 1 square mile, roughly 1,000 to 3,000 feet above sea level. These are rocky, steep sloped peaks formed by ancient volcanic activity of basalt and volcanic sandstone and siltstone. It's humid, damp, and lush, an evergreen subtropical wet forest, a mix of old growth vegetation and secondary growth forests, land now rewilding after centuries of human intrusion. Summer temperatures in this region reach into the low 90s Fahrenheit, and winter lows rarely drop below 60 degrees. Precipitation averages roughly 60 inches per year. Erubia shares its island home with Puerto Rican broad-winged hawk, Puerto Rican emerald, mountain coqui, palo de Ramon, Ponce Maiten, Sierra palm, Puerto Rican woodpecker, Adelaide's warbles, mongoose, robel de Sierra, uvillo, scarlet star, granadillo bobo, Bertero's tuft airplant, fig-eating bat, Puerto Rican vireo, yellow-chinned anole, Puerto Rican boa, black rat, Puerto Rico lacebark, Puerto Rican twig anole, and many, many more. Historically, human habitat exploitation and destruction significantly reduced the Erubia population. Vast areas of Puerto Rico's mountain forests were felled, logged for charcoal and wood production, clear-cut for agriculture, specifically coffee plantations, and transformed to pasture land for domesticated cattle grazing. Relatedly, Erubia itself was targeted for deliberate eradication by farmers. The plant's sharp spines were perceived as a danger to livestock, and so landowners purposefully targeted, removed, and destroyed Erubia growth. Today, human encroachment upon and reduction of habitat continues to threaten the species. But the main concern now is simply its low population. Low population puts Erubia at risk for stochastic events. These are random, unpredictable occurrences that could wipe out the entire remaining population all in one go. So, a landslide, a severe wildfire, a hurricane. Low population has also resulted in a genetic bottleneck. As mentioned, Erubia cannot self-pollinate nor reproduce asexually via like cutting or clone, pollen from a genetically distinct individual is required for viable seed production. And so low population and lack of genetic diversity within that population is imperiling their natural regeneration. And human-induced climate change is an imminent threat. Changing weather patterns resulting from global warming increases the risk of extreme weather, making stochastic events like wildfire or hurricane more likely. Fortunately, Erubia is legally protected, locally by the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, federally by the U.S. Endangered Species Act, and internationally by the IUCN. And in 2000, this region of the Sierra de Calle Mountains was declared a protected wilderness, the Las Piedras de Collado Nature Reserve. Additionally, off-site conservation programs are in place. Erubia seeds are in safe off-site storage at the Atlantic Botanical Gardens Seed Bank. And Eastern Connecticut State University has a living collection where researchers have manually facilitated cross-pollination to produce viable seeds and successfully cultivate new individuals. In 2024, seedlings from the Eastern Connecticut State Collection were sent back to Puerto Rico to be reintroduced into their natural habitat. Nevertheless, Erubia has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2012, and their population is currently in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 200 Erubia remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Erubia was compiled from Eastern Connecticut State University, from the IUCN, from BMC Plant Biology, Volume 25, from the Institute for Regional Conservation, from the Journal of the Royal Society Interface, Volume 19, Issue 188, from the National Science Foundation's Solanaceae source, from Ecosystems, Volume 3, from the Journal of the American Society for Horticultural Science, Volume 144, Number 5, from Taxon, Volume 57, and from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. For more information about conservation in Puerto Rico, please visit Para la Naturaleza at perlanaturaliza.org. And so now I would like to perform some music in hopes of holding space to be in contemplation of the other lives with whom we share our earth. I do not intend to put meaning upon or extract meaning from the Erubia. Instead, I want this music to simply express a human awe for other life. So I'll pause in the space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. the life force of the Erubia. I will commit its name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this gorgeous being. And I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the Erubia, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and my inactions. I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitat by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin. Goodbye.